Thank you.
All right, we're recording, so we can censor ourselves now.
Okay. Did we miss anybody introduction-wise? I'm trying to see here. We got Ed, right? Where we left off?
He'll probably come on. Let's see. Did I message? Yeah, I messaged him. That's the link. Yeah, he'll come on once we get started. He's from Nova Scotia. They're on their own time.
Okay. Well, what I was gonna, I don't know how do we go about this, but maybe our topic today was actually how we juggle our personal lives with Beachbody, how we make that a part of our everyday thing to kind of succeed in this business. And I guess I'm trying to, I guess what would I think help you guys to help us out is maybe we can tell you what our challenges are, and maybe we can kind of go about that, and maybe kind of open forum and see what we, how we can improve ourselves in the business in terms of managing time, dedicating time for the business, that sort of thing. Is that fair?
Sure.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, you want to go ahead and start, Dan? See what, and kind of just share that with us.
You want me to start with things that are problem areas, you said, as far as...
Well, just kind of let us know. Today we want to make sure how we want to talk about how we juggle our Beachbody business with our personal lives. We all work, we all have families, that sort of thing. And sometimes finding the time to run this business is a little difficult. So that's what I kind of want to kind of go around and see what challenges we face when we're trying to run this business, but everything else is in the way, our families and whatnot. And I guess what I'm trying to say is what do you face that's difficult for you in trying to run the business, if you have any difficulties by
that? I know there's difficulties. I just can't think of any off the top of my head right now.
I know a while back we had talked about creating business hours to run our business, and I think we actually had that in our Superstar Boot Camp, and I know Jason was there for that, and they were talking about creating business hours to dedicate time to the business, that sort of thing. And I know you mentioned something about a scheduling application, Dan. Do you remember that? It was a while back.
I haven't made use of it. It wasn't necessarily a scheduling app. It was more so keeping track of my time that I'm investing into it, just so I could analyze how I'm making use of my time and how I'm seeing the income versus time invested grow in what's working and what's not. But I need to be putting in the time in order to make that useful. And lately that hasn't been happening. So you're really putting me on the spot, Jesse.
I'm sorry. You happen to be at the right spot in my screen, so I just started there. But, well, since I put you on the spot, I'll put myself on the spot. How about that? I think for me, when I first started, and I guess one of the reasons I was going to quit in the beginning, and I'm glad I had people like Donnie to kind of just reach out. And I guess I reached out because the more I saw the news feed in TNL, it just kept going, and I just saw all this inspiration. And I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. I know it's going to take time. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. But, I think it helps that we're not alone in all this. I mean, there is help out there. And when we network and stuff like that, we can do this. It just takes, it's a process. Like I said, I didn't do anything with it my first year. I guess because I was just kind of turned off by it. I invested so much time, like Dan said, and I just didn't see it going anywhere. And then this year, I just started to become more involved. I joined this Superstar Boot Camp and all this training, and it's helping kind of get back into the routine of things and keeping my mind focused as to why we do what we do. Not so much income related, but just our overall focus that we're out to help as many people as possible. And I think that's how I kind of got re-inspired this year. Is it difficult now? Yeah, it still is. I mean, I hold two jobs. It's hard for me to, my morning starts I get up at 5 in the morning. I don't get work till 9 o'clock or 9:30 at night. I get home, I work out. I mean, what can you do between the night, the later hours of the night? But I am off on the weekends, and I kind of jiggle Beachbody in between my work schedule if I'm trying to network with somebody. So at least that's how I'm trying to fit my time in with that task. So sometimes if I'm not too busy at work and I have somebody that say I message to, I want to follow up with that person, and then I'll try to do it within work time to try to reach out to them and kind of connect and form and that sort of thing. But that's where I'm at right now, is trying to juggle around it with my two jobs and trying to find the time to dedicate time for it.
Well, I can tell you guys, I don't jump in here, but,
Sure.
There's no one right answer. I mean, everybody has a different schedule. Everybody has a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
There are different jobs. There are different time frames. Some people have a couple hours a day to work the business. Some people will tell you, they got like 30 minutes to work the business. What I found that's worked for me, because, I have one job. I do have extracurricular activities that I try to fit in as well. But I have one job that I work about 10, 11 hours a day. But I also have a large family. So I can't spend a ton of time, working the business. So I utilize the free time within my job that I have. And a big tool for me has been, it's my smartphone. I mean, that's just simply put, that's been my saving grace when it comes to building this business, is consistency and taking advantage of the opportunities when I have them. So when I'm able to converse with someone through social media, whether it be Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, and I can do that on a break or in between, dealing with customers, or when I'm doing something in my office, then I'll do that. And if I could set up an appointment during the time when I know that I'm going to be off or I have the free time, that's what I do. I think I shouldn't say it should be rare, but it's rare for me to be able to have, 2 or 3 hour window where I could sit down and say, hey, I'm going to have this power hour where I'm not going to do anything but the business. Because I can tell you, maybe, some of you can identify, when I get off work, I'm headed to the house to see my girls and to see my wife, who I haven't seen all day. And for me to get home and say, okay, I'm going to put you on hold for another 2 hours, 3 hours while Daddy, goes in his office and works Beachbody. That doesn't go over too well at the house. Now, if it was a business, if it was a brick and mortar type style business where, I went to Bank of America and took out $800,000 loan and said, hey, I'm going to, I'm putting my heart and soul, my life savings, and my family's reputation on this business, may be a little bit different. Now, is it different? No, absolutely not. In fact, this is way better because there's no overhead, none whatsoever. Almost, comparatively. So, but the wife and the kids, they don't see that. They would see that more if, Daddy was at the physical store trying to build a business. But since I'm home and I'm trying to be on the computer and talking to people, they look at it like Daddy's just on the computer playing. So, but yeah, it's rough when you have a family, when you have a full-time job, but you just really have to stay passionate about it. We talked about that earlier, and you just have to take advantage of consistent activity whenever you have a chance. And for me, Jason could probably, interject what works for him, but for me, it's smartphone, it's the tablets, it's things that I could utilize when I'm away from my computer at home to still get business done. It's kind of a fake it till you make it type mentality. A lot of time I project myself like I'm, I work from home and I'm in my office when really I may be on the road, like I'm talking to you guys right now. So it just, whatever works for you, as long as you're staying consistent, and you're putting in the work, because it's not an instantaneous business by no means. I've been doing this for 3 years. There are some people who, go star diamond, 2, 3 star diamond in 6 months. That's not me. That's not what happened with me. That's not what's happening with me. But I'm staying consistent, you know, and I had to learn that our society, we're used to flipping a switch and light comes on, or putting food into a box and pushing the buttons and 2 minutes is done. You know, I mean, we're just an instantaneous society. So we like that quick fix. And when you get in the business, they tell you. That's one of the first things Josh told me. He's like, look, you know, you're going to have to work hard at this, and it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. I'm like, yeah. You know, I got this. I can do this. And I can tell you a year down the road, I'm like, wow, you know, this guy's not kidding. You know, this is some hard work we got to put into this business. But then I kept my goals in front of me. You know, I kept looking at Josh and Melinda, and I'm looking at what their lifestyle was. And I'm like, I want that. This guy did this at 27 years old. I can do this. You know, and to me, he's kind of like the poster child for a Beachbody coach. But then you get to Summit and you see all these success stories coming across stage, and they have all these different stories and all these different backgrounds and all these different struggles that beforehand you would look at them and go, there's no way they would make it on this stage. You know, but the difference is they never believe that. You know, they never believe that they couldn't do it. So when I see people like that at Summit, that's why it's so very important to get to Summit. When I see people go across stage at Summit, or when I look at my coach, or when I look at other successful coaches, Chris Palmer, you know, Wayne Wyatt, I think to myself, you know, it's not an issue of this business not working. It's an issue of me working, you know? And so that's what I have to keep in front of me. And so to get back to your question, I just utilize when I can the tools that I have in front of me to keep consistently moving forward towards my goals. It may be a tiny step forward on some days. And in some days it's a step backwards. But if I can consistently keep moving forward throughout the weeks, throughout the months, then I know I'm going to get there, you know? So that's just what helps me.
Did you want me to, Jesse, do you want me to chime in?
Well, I think we lost her again. Colleen, are you there?
He's not there.
She kind of got on a little late, so she kind of messaged me. We can get back to her in a little bit then. Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Okay. I think that was awesome of what Donnie said, because Josh has become Spencer has become a good friend of mine. And, you know, one of the things that he came to visit Brooke and I in Louisville last month, and we kind of talked until like the wee hours of the morning. One of the things that we were saying was, you know, just like Donnie said, is that it just doesn't stop getting hard, but you just get better at it. You get better at the hard is the biggest difference. I think that one, you know, for myself, I mean, I think when I got started, it was, you know, I think I rushed to like 2-star qualified in like 7 months, which was actually really dangerous because it made me think that, well, wow, like I can just get a tribe. Like, this is great. When in reality, it was a combination between just where I was in terms of the credibility that I had coming in, and then what I really knew about the business. One thing that I've realized, because, you know, like Donnie knows a lot more about the business than I, you know, rank doesn't mean anything. I mean, the longer you've been in this business, the more seasoned you get at what works and the different kinds of hard, so to speak. So one thing that a lot of people say, and I'm sure as guys, is they say it's hard. You know, you just got to keep doing it, and it is hard work. But I think that one thing I know that goes on in my mind is, you know, if I'm a guy, is okay, great, it's hard, but like, how do I know what work to do? Like, I'm just doing the same steps, but yet nothing is changing, and that's a very frustrating hard, because then you're not really seeing the results. So where do you go? Like, you're just like, okay, I'm doing this, but still nothing's happening. Am I just supposed to have like faith? And I think that, you know, a couple different things is that, you know, you have the 3 vital behaviors, and it all starts with and this is why I think it's very dangerous when you bring someone on as a coach right away, is that you need to have a really good purpose when you start. You need to, and it can't be about money. It can't be about, you really have to understand why you're a coach. I really think that as men and women are very different. I think that, for instance, women are very emotional. The reason why women are very, I know Misty's laughing already. Our chemistries are different. And so I think that the reason why women become very good coaches, besides the fact that a lot of them are stay-at-home moms, is number one, it's societal differences. It's not like the stay-at-home dad is not and just the leap of faith. That's not really accepted by society. It will be. I mean, the millennials are coming in. That is going to be the norm, is activating your life now and not when you're 65. But that's a separate talk. But women are they want to band together. Women want to find a tribe as soon as possible because they need other people that can relate to them. And so men, I think overall, are very, we kind of get closed off, we kind of get sheltered, and we are formed into this, we've got work, and then we've got, we're the dad, and we don't even really know what our identity is. The one, it's very interesting. I've lived in a lot of different places, and I've met a lot of different people. And what's funny is if I look at who were before Beachbody coming in, who were my closest friends, and my closest friends were either people that were in my religion and people that, because I'm Jewish, and if you notice, Judaism is one of those things that, especially if you notice, my grandparents had escaped the Holocaust and everything like that. And how do they persevere? I mean, they persevere because they literally had to band together and say, listen, we've got to create our own utopia. We have to create our own happiness because you can't trust the outside world. And you have the same thing with here in the United States now, not so much with religion now, but let's say the African-American community. I have a lot of very close friends that are in the GLBT community, and that's some of them are some of my friends that are, gay or lesbian are some of my best friends because they're in these tribes. And so they're transparent. They're actually them. I know who they are. And it's a very interesting phenomenon. And so when you get started Beachbody, I really feel like you've got to find out, what is your tribe? Is that something that you understand? Because I think that if you look at any top Beachbody coach, what elevates them is something greater than just following the steps. And that's what's going to get you to the next level. And it doesn't make the overwhelmed any easier, but what it does is it puts things in priorities. I know that Dan was saying that he's I know I have the schedule, but it's a little hard to, I know I need to get to it, but life gets in the way. And that's just the reality. Life gets in the way. So what makes that a priority? Well, if you have a greater purpose of why you're doing it, if it's if it's the paychecks and anything, that's really not gonna, regardless if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that in and of itself, I don't know if that's enough of a reason. But if you're well, every week, I'm part of this community now, and these guys are actually my friends. I actually see that besides my, people I see around me, these are people that I can rely on, that I enjoy knowing about them. And until you find that, you can kind of get a little lost. So I think that the first step is find out who you are, find out who your niche is, find out who your tribe is. And it comes with transparency. A lot of it comes through social media, blogging, whatever. If you notice, everybody's got their own thing, but a lot of women, they're some of them are, it's almost like they're transparent, but almost looks like they're copying and pasting things. I don't know, I look at it and but some, you can see that they're just, that's them. You can just really see. And to me, every time that you do that, you're growing. And that's probably one of the hardest things for guys to do, to actually be vulnerable. If you notice, like one of the biggest ones I would say is probably Scotty Hobbs. Scotty Hobbs is, when he started posting, and he's a very, like, if you look at, like, he's an emotional, vulnerable person. And when he really kind of started getting a tribe and a following, that's when it happened. So I think that's the first thing that you want to do. And that takes time. It doesn't mean that your business stalls until then, but I think that at least now you have something to work on. Now, how do you work on it? You work on it through personal development, in my opinion. Constantly be reading different things, looking at podcasts, starting to get yourself out there in conversations. I think that's a big thing. Who are you talking to? I've always been an outgoing person, but within the last year, I've definitely noticed a change in myself. And if something doesn't go right, I'll journal it. And I'd never done that before. Another thing that that I did, which I know Dan had mentioned, is in terms of the schedule. That's one thing you really don't have to think about when you have, because I have a very busy schedule like a lot of other people. What I do is I have my week and I do it ahead of time, and I shade out my work, I shade out my sleep, I shade out my family time. Now, a big difference between Donnie and myself is it's Brooke and myself. And Brooke, as you know, is also extremely busy with Beachbody. So that's it's actually a blessing and a curse. But you need to find out what time you have. But when you shade everything out, it's amazing how all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, this is the time that I have. So for instance, like today I shaded out 8:30 to 6:30 because I see patients from 9 to 6 and it takes me half hour to get home. So that was shaded out. And then, my sleep was 11 to 5. Well, I didn't get up until 6:35 this morning. So I lost 90 minutes, which I wasn't happy about, but I overslept. But I still needed to get my work done, and I made a decision. All right, I've got between the time that I wake up, 5 a.m. or whenever I wake up, until 8:30 when I have to leave, which means that at 8 o'clock, or 8:10, I've got to get in the shower. So now I've got between 5 and 8:10. When am I going to make breakfast? When am I going to do this? And then let's say I've got 60 minutes in the morning to work Beachbody. Well, then I'm scheduling it exactly what I want to do. So I do what's called the power of threes, which I don't know if any of you guys know, but where I'm inviting 3 people a day. I'm following up with 3 coaches a day. I'm following up with 3. I'm reaching out to 3. I'm inviting 3. And those are kind of that's the structure I get. And I've got that's one thing I don't do on the computer. And I just write it down and then I just check it off. And I'll respond to emergency emails then. The other emails I get to at lunch. And then I know Donnie and Chris Ballmertz actually is like this also. He's always got his cell phone on him so that he can respond to things kind of throughout the day and have accessibility. Because I don't have a family, I think it just affords me a little bit more time to maybe respond emails at night or whatever. It doesn't mean it's perfect, but historically, Brooke and myself are not very good time management people because we're both in the healthcare industry where the schedule is done for us. So you'd think that we'd have the best time management, but have never had to create our own. I mean, I'm almost 37 and, I was in the Army for 4 years. I never had to create a schedule. They told me where to be. Same thing when I'm in surgery, same thing when I'm, very much like, Wayne Wyatt. The difference with Wayne, when I talk to Wayne, he's got 6 kids. Like he's got phenomenal time management. So it's funny that Jesse had asked, me to be on the call because that historically has been my biggest struggle because and I'm sure this happens to all of you guys, in your mind, you constantly say to yourself, it's okay why you didn't have the time. It's like, I just was too busy. Like I didn't have time. I was busy with work and this and that, and that's always a priority. You need to set that in your mind at what is a priority. And if you want to make it that, you have to plan it. And if you don't plan it, then it won't get done, or you will overlap. Now, when I was talking about the power of threes, for example, which is, and I don't know if Donnie uses, that, or the business activity tracker, or another format. But one thing that you want to, this is, I think, is what's so important about having a success partner early. When my success partner, I don't know if you guys know who, Julie Henderson, and we work really well together, but it's funny, we both have terrible time management skills. But it's something that I encourage every one of you guys to have somebody else, and I don't think it matters if they're a higher rank than you, if they're just as lost as you, because there's, just like how the key to success in Beachbody is through a team. I mean, just like you guys know, the easy times, the easy times, but it's what happens when you struggle. I mean, don't you guys all feel, I do. Don't you guys feel alone when you're overwhelmed? Like, you just close off. It's just annoying. You're just like, and it's just.
I almost quit.
You almost quit? Yeah, Missy almost quit.
I did, because, I hate to say this, but I kind of blame my coach for it. And she's a dear friend of mine, so that was hard. But yeah, I almost quit from having a coach that's not very involved. And I don't want to be a coach like that. I'm taking a break and refocusing and trying to learn as much as I can so that I don't do that.
Now, I'm always curious to know, like, Donnie, since you've been a coach for a couple of years, have you, and I know you have a success partner, do you guys set mini goals in terms of, smaller than get to Emerald, smaller than, really kind of these little achievements that these coaches can get along the way to kind of slowly branch out and get a little bit more confidence?
Well, I tell you, what kind of branched our relationship off was when we experienced our first Team Cup. And what we did was we had our, back in the day, there were 5 of us on the Team Cup Challenge. And so we set up, it was like, hey, once a week we're going to set up this team call, and we're going to go over, how many contacts we had, how many pages of, personal development books did we read, blah, blah, blah. We had this list of things that we were going to do that were going to push us forward in this contest. So we just kind of picked up a page from that when we got together as partners, and we'd like, hey, we're going to have a call once a week, and we're going to go over these similar goals. Now, we kind of set our own goals that we wanted to, touch bases on. But, man, it's like a marriage. It really is, because you try to find a success partner that's going to push you, and, you need to push your success partner. But it's like a marriage in that, when one's up, the other's got, the one's down, the other one's got to be up. And, somebody's got to be up the whole time. And, you both can't be down, because then you notice it. You're like, okay, well, we were supposed to have a call, and we didn't have a call, and the other didn't call the other to say, hey, where were you? And that just kind of carries on till the next week, and same thing happens, and all of a sudden you got 2-3 weeks, you're not talking to one another. Well, it's just like your prospects, your customers, or even your coaches. When you've got, I have coaches of mine who, they're contacting me daily. Man, I got this fired up coach that's about to sign, blah, blah. Just moved 3 challenge packs. So I'm on my way to Success Club, And then you've got these other coaches who you may talk to once or twice a week. But then all of a sudden, the one you talk to every day, you didn't hear from in about 2 or 3 days. And then you hadn't heard from them in a week. And you're like, well, crap, I need to reach out to this person. But you know what the deal is. I mean, they've kind of fallen off, and they need that pick-me-up. So it's the same, and even more so with success partners, that, you just got to be there for one another. And Josh, you can't be friends, man. And then that's the thing. I mean, you could be friends, but you've got to be able to be nasty. You know, I mean, you can't have somebody be like, oh, you know what, Donnie, you know, your goal was to talk to, 5 people a day. You only got to 1. I understand. You know, you're busy. You got a job. You'll get to that next week. No, you don't want to find somebody like that. You got to have somebody to say, what is this bull crap you're feeding me here? You're supposed to get 5. You only got 1. What the hell is going on with this? So you got to have somebody that's going to hold you accountable and not just sit there and be your support friend, and that's hard to find. It really is, because you tend to want to migrate towards somebody who you get along with, maybe on TNL or maybe your personal team. You think, okay, well, we gel, we laugh and cut up, so we make good success partners. Not necessarily. You've got to have somebody with similar goals, and this is my opinion. You have to have somebody with similar goals, and you have to be able to call the other one out when you have to. But yeah, to get back to your original question, I mean, that's, we would schedule a call once a week, and now we basically will, he'll call me whenever, I'll call him whenever, outside of our normal call. Because when good things happen, I mean, you want to share it. And especially when you have a success partner, I mean, that's what it's all about. So when good things happen, I'm on the phone with him, he's on the phone with me, and we're just celebrating together, But like I said, when I don't hear from him, I know he's probably down. He's letting life get to him. He's not keeping his goals in front of him, his dreams in front of him, and it's time for me to kick him in his butt, and get him back on track. And he's the same with me. But yeah, it's just basic goals. Talking to a certain number of people. Hey, do we make the national wake up call? Do we make our team call? Do we get their personal development in? Are we working on the 3 steps? Every single day. And Jason touched on personal development. That one is one of the most important to me, in that you have to. I mean, we all work out. We work our bodies, but your mind has got to be exercised on a daily basis, because you cannot expect to grow as a business person, a businessman, a businesswoman, if your mind is not expanding to, how others are building the business, like making the calls on a weekly basis, or diving into whatever personal development book that you're reading, John Maxwell or whatever you're reading for that day or for that week. You've got to keep that brain of yours and that mind of yours in shape to be able to move to that next level, because we all find ourselves wanting to be comfortable, and subconsciously we get in that rut, because whether it be our diet or whether it be our exercise or whether it be our business, we find ourselves subconsciously trying to fall back into that comfort zone, and the only way you're going to grow is to get out of that comfort zone and stretch and to push yourself, and to know that what you're doing is getting yourself out of that comfort zone, because you're not going to accidentally fall out of the comfort zone. I can tell you that right now. You've got to willingly and consciously step outside of that zone to grow. And the only way you're going to do that is to continuously expand your mind, the way that you run your business, and to find new ways to run your business. But yeah, I mean, those are just simple goals that we touch on a weekly basis, and like I said, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week.
I was gonna add that this is a book that that I started reading, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I recommend everybody reading this book. It's called Learn or Die: Using Science to Build a Leading Edge Learning Organization by Edward Hess. I read a lot now, and I read a lot about, for me, I've read all the basic personal development books, and now I'm getting into the why books. Why do we think the way we do? And I think that's really, because that's that's what I like to do. If you guys notice, I don't necessarily, I like to help all coaches. I mean, I like to get into the minds of people and help, I guess, just help people develop their niche. One thing that, that I see is that think that, Donnie touched on a great point, is that you, regardless of people you're coaching or if it's your success partner, you always want to ask them, listen, when I see you falling off track, is it okay for me to call you out? Is it okay for me? Do you want me to be mean? Do you want me to scream at you? Do you want me to, people know what gets them going. And it'll make you more comfortable when you got to call out a coach, call out a challenger. I've done that already several times with one of my recent test group challengers. And, my voice tone was not very nice, but that's what, I knew that that's what he wanted. Because everybody else says that's okay. And I say, no, it's not. You told me why you wanted to do this. So, cut the shit, that kind of thing. You decided you wanted to save your life.
My daughter just got home. My daughter just got home from work. So I want her to get into all of this and live a healthier life.
See, look at that. We're branching out.
All right.
I think that, when I look at every one of you guys, and, I don't know, every one of you personally, but everybody's facial expressions are different. Everybody's look is different. And everybody, whether you guys know it or not, you guys have your own niche. And it makes sense why some of you don't really know who your niche is and who is your tribe. Because a lot of people, I guess as men, a lot of times we just don't know it. It's like it's been suppressed for so many years. Maybe one time we knew what it was, but we're products of our environment, regardless of where we are. And I think that that's the first thing. The other thing is this. So, kind of getting back to it, you form a schedule and then you find out what your mission is. You got to be concrete, because the thing is going to be hard. It's going to be a struggle. You've got your 3 vital behaviors. You know that you got to be doing those every day. Those are like the easy things. It's like you check it off, just like challengers. Did you get your water intake? Did you take your Shakeology? Did you follow your clean eating or whatever? Did you work out? Check it off every day. At the end of the week, analyze it, period. Yes or no? And at the end of the week, if you were a total failure, then you review it and you say, okay, why did this happen? Because you know why. And then you write it down and then say, all right, how can we improve on this? Decide right then and there on Sunday night, how can we improve next week? And then you do it again, over and over again, until you don't even think about it anymore. And you do the same thing with coaching. So even though you don't think that you've got your niche, what's the only thing that gets you forward? Whatever you guys do in your regular life, whether you're a dad, whatever you do during your job, what's the one thing that really makes you a better person? It's your personal development. Just like, Tommy said. So use that to help you enjoy your job. Use that to help you just enjoy your life, your family, because what it does is it teaches you sometimes for the first time about yourself. And if we're like anybody else, it sounds like a bunch of bullshit until all of a sudden you get it. And you're like, oh, okay, wow. Because we live our lives and we're like, no, but that's the way I am. I'm just like that. But we're never reinforced in school and college, in medical school, anything that you need to learn about yourself. It's no, you need to learn about this. And then you need to master it, not about learning yourself. So sometimes, some of us, for the first time at 30, 40 years old, you're first learning who you are. So you can imagine how hard that is. And if it's not now, you hit some tragic event in your life, some rock bottom, some near-death experience that forced you to all of a sudden learn about yourself or appreciate life. So something has to happen or click. And once you get that, then and only then can you say, okay, now what do I do? Well, then that's the whole next process. It's, okay, have you decided? Do you want to make this a business? You want to make it a business, then that's, of course, other conversations that you want to make sure you get started right. You know what your investment is. You know why you have to sign up a spouse or somebody that you are related to on your weak leg, why you try and find one person that you trust to start this journey with you. That's why they're actually a great primary success partner, is that person that's right underneath you. And having them understand that the combination between the personal development that's making you a better person no matter what, regardless if you don't sign up one person, it's helping you because of what you're reading, and it's helping you because you just keep failing in the Beachbody business and you're still there, which means that you're getting better at it. And just like you guys know, the only way to get to actually improve in life is by failing. We go through our whole life saying that if you fail, you're fired. And we know the only way to get better is by failing. So in essence, you just keep getting better. And so you're mentally kind of getting more mature, and then you're figuring out who you are. So as you're doing that, what is Beachbody? Like, where does Beachbody come into play? And it comes into play regardless if you're extremely busy or if you're a stay-at-home mom or dad. It comes into play because in order to be the best person you can be, you have to have a foundation of health, period. You have to have a solid mental state. You have to fuel yourself and have the most energy so that you can have a clear thought. You can sleep better. You can think better. You're sick less because your immune system, like anything else, requires energy. And if you're feeding your body like crap, you just don't have as much energy and you're sick more. And you need to be, then of course, you need to have the principles to be able to present it to future generations. Now, the problem that I think a lot of people get roadblocked is that if you've lived your life and you've never been fulfilled, you go with the easiest route for being happy. And that's helping other people. So you ever meet that person who says to you, they're like, I'm just a people person. I just help people. I love helping people. And yet you look at them and they look like they're a mess. But they're, whether they're overweight or whatever. I mean, I see people like that all the time, but they're the nicest people and they love helping people. But yet they've never helped themselves. Or rather, they've tried their whole life and they haven't been able to find out a sustainable way how to. And so this is one of those things that finally teaches you that you can't do it that way. You will never succeed as a Beachbody coach if your primary reason is to help other people. When I started, TNT Nation, which is my tribe, it stands for transform and teach. You have to transform yourself before you teach other people. So before you become a coach, before you decide to really activate yourself, you want to make sure that you're clear-headed. Now, can you be an okay coach? Sure. But you'll hit like these frustrations up and down, up and down. If you really want to like really activate yourself and be happier, you want to make a decision to transform yourself. And then when you all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm ready to do that. Then you reach out to social media. Then you reach out to your friends and say, this is why I'm doing this. And then all of a sudden there's going to be people that are going to listen because you're different. You're different than all the other people that say, I've got a shake. I've got these fitness programs that are going to save you some time. I mean, they're great. We know they're the answer. But how are you going to be unique? And when you find all that stuff out, it doesn't make a difference if you've got a full-time job or if you've got, or how much time you have, whatever it is, you find a way. If you have enough passion and enough, and it's just something that you're just so passionate about, you will persevere. It's like when someone asks me, well, doesn't it stress you out? And I said, yeah, but there's no other way, period. Like I couldn't live if I wasn't doing this. Because it makes me a better person, knowing all of you guys, knowing new people every day. And yeah, there's days that it sucks because being overwhelmed sucks. Being comfortable is nice. But that's kind of the process. As you can see, I kind of go off on tangents. Sorry about that.
There's a squirrel. No.
There's a lot of truth to that because, like you were saying, I know one of the reasons I decided to get more into fitness is actually when I graduated from school, I went through almost 10 months postgraduate. I couldn't get a job in physical therapy. I was a new grad. Some places, they don't want to hire new grads. They want to hire people with experience. But what they fail to realize is that sometimes even these new grads have more of the technology that they're teaching in schools now. Not that, there's no continuing ed for people with experience, because they do have continuing ed for them to progress in their career. But I went through 10 months. When I started school, believe it or not, I was a size 27 waist.
Wow.
You can't even find that in the store. I had to have a size 29, and they had to kind of like cinch it or whatever. And then and that was through college. I mean, there was a lot of stress during college. I don't know why I didn't gain weight in college, but then once I moved back here in 2004, that's when it kind of went downhill. Some people drink, some people do other things. I was stressed. I guess, more frustrated that I invested so much time in school, and I'm like, okay, I'm out. I went through all this job placement. Now what's going on? You know, so I was really frustrated. So I decided to eat and eat and eat and eat. And I guess where I'm getting to that is, which we're talking about, is like I got to see people like my dad who had heart surgery and he's diabetic and stuff like that. And I said to myself, you know, he's had so much going on. If I keep at the rate that I'm going and I keep gaining all this weight, I'm going to have that problem. You know, I'll probably die young at an early age because I had the time to do it and I failed to do it. You know, I mean, I was there by my dad. I was there when my mom got sick. It was very, very tough on me. You know, if you don't, I guess until you experience it, it's like a big wake-up call. For me, it was anyway. It's like, I said, it just makes you think time is really short. You know, and it's like, if you know there's something that you can do about it, do it, because then when it's too late, it's too late. You know, you leave people behind that you loved, and it's just, you know, it makes it for a bad experience. But if you could do something for it, the time is now.
Now, what was the biggest difference, like, you know, when you went from a size 27 to, you know, to where you are now, the emotional state of, you know, you're like, my time is now. I look at my parents and I don't want to be, you know, like what happened to my father. Was it something where you were just emotionally so off balance? You're like, that's it. Something has to change, or what?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't even go anywhere. I went from that size to a size 38 waist. I mean, that's a drastic, I mean, that's huge, you know, and it was just frustrating. I didn't really want to go anywhere. You know, you get that mentality, like, what do they think about me? They think I'm fat, you know, and I figure, well, the safest place for me was just to stay home, you know, just block myself from everything else. But that doesn't make sense either, because you're supposed to enjoy your life, not close yourself in, you know. And so I got to thinking about that, and I had to make a change, and I did it. You know, I'm not going to say that I'm there yet, but you know, we're never all there. We all keep going because we have goals. You know, it never stops. You know, so that's why I just keep doing, and that's my focus. And I want to be there for my family. If I don't do something now for myself, I mean, I might be dead before they are. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I see it differently now, because now that I've seen all this happen, and I've been there for them, I said to myself, I better change me, because I could be the one in that bed and then them on the other end. And every parent's going to say, why didn't I go before my kid? You know what I mean? And not the kid before the parent. And that's really hard. I mean, I can see that that's a tough for a parent to deal with that. But that's why, like I said, I saw everything they went through, and I said, well, if I keep gaining all this weight and I keep eating all the wrong shit, I'm just going to go downhill too, and then I'll die. You know, then it makes you to think about that. It really does. It's a big wake-up call, because then when time's out, it's out.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you said that, because, you know, like if you could see, you know, it's like I noticed that, you know, listening to Jesse, that, you know, not once did he mention how the fact that he took Shakeology every day, and that's started to change his life.
Oh, that's
I mean, no, and what I mean by that is that's a given, in terms of the fact that there is not one answer, but he is that is what has made his life. I mean, from getting at it made his life easier to start to rebuild his path and give him a little bit of proven direction. And that's something that will make you, you know, a coach. We fall into the trap of trying to convince people to buy things, and fall into the trap of being, you know, a salesperson. And when you guys start to figure out, some of you guys are there, and some of you guys kind of fall into the trap of what every other coach is. When you start to feel what it is that is changing people, and when you start to realize that it is not the drink and it is not the fitness program, those can always be replaced. It's the community. And that's so important to understand that, because the community is the reason why, where I live now in Louisville in Southern Indiana, why people are killing themselves, because they're making the healthy food is there. And it's true at the grocery store. Yeah, I mean, marketers fool us and make us think that certain things are healthy and not healthy. It doesn't make it any easier. But we're still making the wrong decision, even though we do know what the right decision is. But the reason why is because we are not surrounded by a live community around here. Now, in the east end of Louisville, where I live, I would say much more than in southern Indiana, where my pediatric practice is. But it's a spiral that, I mean, that's what we as human beings are. We have peer pressure. We have communities. We want to be like other people. So who wants to go against the trend? And I think that when we realize that, then you've got it, on the side note, you have to do your homework. You've got to know Shakeology like the back of your hand. Don't ever find, and this is my opinion, I'll never compare it to another Isogenics and this and that. Because if they're asking me for comparisons, that means that I'm not a trusted and credible source yet. Because remember, you're not a salesperson. You need to find out what they need, and then you give them a recommendation. You don't know those products unless you do. If you do, great, then talk about it. But they might all do the same thing. The bottom line is that you know a proven method. How do you know it? Because it changed your life or somebody that you know. And that's it. And we waste so much energy and frustration on then trying to convince somebody that you think is ready, but they're not if they keep questioning it. And I think that's a key point. So what? I was going to ask Jesse, what did you find is, have you hit plateaus or in terms of being a challenger? What have you noticed in the transition of coaching and?
Well, I've always proceeded. Once I did my P90X and I got reached out by my coach, which is Michael, I kept doing it, and just because he kept mentioning, when I first started, it was a struggle, but he kept telling me that, it's very crucial to be a product of the product. So obviously I had a lot to work on. So it wasn't really my focus about, okay, let me see how I can take this business forward. It's like, if I'm going to be credible to anybody, it starts with me. So I just was really, in the beginning, just kind of focusing on me and trying to see, can I lose weight? What can I do to, strengthen, tone out, whatever. Before I actually focused on, because nobody's going to believe me if they're going to look at me. I'm like, okay, you're recommending something. Look at you. You see what I'm saying? So I just focused on more being a product of what I'm supposed to believe in. And I actually do believe in their product. So that's what I focused the most when I started. And still.
Yeah, and I think it's a challenge. I mean, it never gets easy. Our mind confuses us. I think it's always, just like Jesse said, I think it is always a lifelong thing. Now, Of course, the rewards of getting, of course, then building your own tribe and then having residual income. I mean, that's a separate talk, but that's really, right, in terms of the reason to get your children involved and get set up. I mean, you can't combine the fact that you're becoming a better person for yourself and this will be the future of organizations.
Like right now, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, can I ask a personal question?
Sure.
As far as me, because Jason, where I'm at as far as having the surgeries and not being able to do stuff, so I'm not able to do the programs that I have, and I've got 4 or 5 of them, but I'm not able to do that. And because I'm in between coaches with that situation, besides doing the reading and trying to figure out, I guess, what steps I should take once I can become a coach, what should I do in this kind of downtime, these few months that I have that I can't recruit, so to speak. I can't even be a coach.
So, well, the first thing is that just because you can't officially be one, you can definitely be one, meaning that if, friends of yours, this and that, I mean, of course, because you and I could work together on that. That's kind of a non-issue, because you get it. In terms of the exercise component, one thing that Tony Horton always says is if you're injured, that if you're injured, you don't work out, whether it's a day or two or whatever. But for instance, if you're limited in accordance with the programs that you have, then, I mean, there's people that are, paraplegics that do whatever they can do. It's, what's the point of exercise? Yeah, the point of exercise is partly to, get you into different physical shape and this and that. But honestly, that's way down the line. I think one of the main reasons is for stress relief and for emotional stability. And so if, I know some people that have been through surgeries and their time is going for a walk outside, or it's something where they accept that in their mind as an exercise alternative, but they know in their mind, they plan ahead of what will their exercise be like afterwards, and how they can't wait to break that sweat. But you can, whatever makes you happy for stress relief. It's like what I tell everybody: don't focus on the fact that you hate to exercise, because some people hate to exercise. Focus on the result. Focus on how you're going to feel afterwards, on the fact that you set a goal. But
you would not wait. I mean, like, I could go ahead and basically just kind of act as if I'm still a coach and kind of keep going.
Yeah, I mean, what I say is pretend like you were not involved. You didn't even know Beachbody existed. And I think that's good for all coaches, is pretend you didn't even know Beachbody existed, and you're there to help people in your community. And to be honest with you, everything that you're telling me, and I think Donnie and Jesse would agree, is that when you're transparent, people appreciate that. And so often we feel that we say what we think people want to hear. And almost 100% of the time, when we're actually ourselves and we admit our vulnerability, that it ends up working out. And when it doesn't, that's not somebody that you want to associate with anyway. And that's hard, because we're not, I mean, we walk around all day being, people spend their whole lives being kind of fake people. And so I think that's one thing that, the older you get, the more you realize that, it's time to cut the shit, so to speak, and just be yourself. Like, you only live once. I mean, when I was in high school, when I was in college, when I was in college, when I was in high school, I was the biggest prick in the world. It was like, I was popular. I just made fun of everybody. I mean, literally.
And you just drop names now, right?
What's that?
I said, now you just drop names.
And now
Josh,
right.
come to the house.
Oh, right, exactly. His limo is out front. It's no big deal. His Corvette.
See, it's calling him out. Thanks, Jesse. That's coming from you. I had to call him out.
Right, exactly. But to me, it's funny you mentioned about Josh, because it's like, I thought it was cool that, when Brooke and I it was the first time that we had met them, and we talked until 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have one drink. I mean, that's like,
where was that? Just saying.
Hey, Josh can drink.
I will say, and this may be.
I know Josh can drink. I know. I think he only had one. But
wow, talk about overdoing it.
So I know, right? So anyway, I think that's I think that's really where it's at. I think a lot of people, remember when they first come into this, people have the premonitions of the person that inspired them to get involved. So they think that they need to be in certain shape. They need to be able to do certain programs. The reason why Brooke and I have every program is because we like to mix it up. We just like variability. So, that's like one thing that we always struggle with, is when people ask what's the best program, and I tell them get everything.
Right.
So,
as a gift, you can get me those weights and send them to me. I'm okay with that too.
That's fine. I'll just take them over to your place. But
hey, Misty, how many months do you have left?
I've only got 2 more weeks till I go back to the doctor and try to get a clear, so that I can start becoming. See, I used to run 3 miles a day and work out at least an hour a day. I was spin class, boot camps, and I've always been really, really active. But I will say, Jesse, when you were talking earlier about your parents, and that really being something that affected you. And I will try to get through this without crying, but I am female, so don't judge me.
That's okay.
I lost my dad when he was 45 years old. And I don't think I realized how much that affected me. With kids and all, I have a twin sister, and the both of us were pregnant with our boys when my dad passed away. And I was there to take care of him, but I just remember seeing him sick and looking at all the crap that was laying around the house as far as like food and stuff, not dirty, but they were smokers, they were drinkers. When I grew up, there weren't all these vegetables. There was never the good stuff. We never had that. But growing up, I was very skinny and in shape, and it was never, ever an issue. And I don't think that I realized that maybe my dad passing had a lot more to do with it until the kids started getting older. And I'm watching my kids eat, and I'm going, they have to eat better than this. And if we don't eat better than this isn't good. But I think losing my dad has made me appreciate life a lot more, and you want to do everything that you can to extend your life, and you want to be healthy. And it's not even just being physically fit, but it's having the energy to go play with your kids. It's having the energy. Like my son is 13, and he's going for the basketball team, and he has his first girlfriend. But anyways,
amen.
No, do not amen that. That is not good.
That's another call.
Right. And that's lots of alcohol with that one.
We aren't going to talk about that one.
But it's having the energy to go shoot basketball with my son. It is being able to go jump rope with my youngest son. It is being able to run along them as they're riding bikes. It's things like that. And I see parents not doing that. And that breaks my heart. And you talk to them, and they just don't have the energy to do it. There's no way they could go up that hill. We've got a thing called Fire Tire Hill up here out in the country, and it will kill you. And I love taking my kids up it. I love to watch them struggle more than me. Man, it makes me feel good. But I don't see parents doing that stuff with their kids. This one about died going up the hill, just saying. But I don't see parents doing that. I don't see people in general doing that. Jason, it's like you said, everybody is so obese, and they're not involved with each other's lives, and they're not happy. And, I want to be in that group. And like, I know, Jason, with you and your group, you see it, and it's everywhere. I want to be a part of that. So I've kind of pushed myself in a little bit. Sorry about that. But I want to be a part of that. That's what I see, and that's what I long for. And that's what I don't have. But I don't realize I don't think I realized that's what I wanted until dealing with a lot of the hard things, like Jesse was saying, with the family and the unhealthy and like 3 surgeries. What? No, everything's always good with me. I don't have issues.
Yeah.
You definitely start to refocus and look at what's important in life.
It's interesting you said that, because what I've noticed is, you notice, Misty, like in our area, people reinforce. They're like, well, I've had surgery. I've had 4 surgeries, another surgery. It's that people say it like it's a way of life. Like, that's a reality. It's a rite of passage. Everybody has one when they exercise, but it's, you realize that it's because you haven't been active your life. It's because you don't eat right. It's because you don't treat your body right. And of course there's injuries that happen other ways, but it all has to do with it. So, I think that's a good side note. And then, to add about kids, the best way to have kids involved is, the exercise if they want to do it, but bring them in easy. The easiest way is Shakeology, because they don't have to think about it. And then whatever, everybody knows their kids differently, and, one little thing at a time, and whatever. But notice, especially with kids, like I have so many of my parents' kids that take Shakeology, and they just say that it's such a night and day difference between these kids.
I tell you, I have 4 daughters, and for everybody to be on Shakeology, it's just take out a second mortgage on the house. But it's a treat. Yeah, it's a treat for them, you know, because you guys know how it is. Sometimes you end up with a couple extra bags or whatever, and it's like, hey, I want to shake on, you know.
Yeah.
But so that,
Not
you
me,
know, it's
I'm
like,
selfish.
yeah, it's like it's Christmas, but no, but it's, you know, it's, he's so right. It's, gosh, to be able to feed your kids that kind of nutrients. And for me, you know, Jesse talked about his weight transformation. For me, it was actually a little bit the opposite. I mean, I had about 15 pounds to lose, but that's not a lot, you know, comparatively to other people. What really happened for me was internal. You know, I mean, I had a cholesterol level over 200. I'm 40, about to be 42 years old. I had a cholesterol level that was, you know, over 200, and I had just had a full panel done and knew what my blood levels were. And I had, you know, just started P90X and Shakeology, and I'm like, well, I'm going to give this, you know, 100% shot. And I want to say it's like 6 months later. It was several months after I had finished P90X. I decided to go get my my panel, full panel again, and it came back at like 112 cholesterol. You know, and with that, with Shakeology, eating healthy and working out, that's what gave me the energy. That's what was making me healthier on the inside that nobody else can see. But what it did for me was give me that passion, you know, to say, hey, I've got the answer. I've got the answer for whoever is ready. And that was one of the most frustrating things for me, is that you had a lot of people that will tell you that they're ready, but they're not. A lot of them are not ready, and they will only know, you know, they're the only ones that will know when they're ready. And unfortunately, from what I've experienced, a lot of them, it's when their back is against the wall health-wise. And, you know, fortunately, those are the ones that perform the best because they are highly motivated. But at the same time, it's at such a higher risk. So, you know, that, but you know what? It's so much more gratifying to you as a coach to be able to be there to help somebody like that versus somebody where it's more of a vanity thing. I got to lose 10 pounds so I look good in the, you know, in my bathing suit or whatever. So, but yeah, for me, it was more internal. And I mean, 42 years old, I've got the energy of a 20-something-year-old. And I mean, I just feel great, and I'm able to pass that on to others. But Misty, I was going to ask, you guys were talking about you're in a kind of transition period before what?
You guys
Jason
are going to
becomes your
witness some
coach?
child abuse in a second. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
I think she's in. I think Missy's
Sorry.
here for four more months.
4 more months. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, have you thought about? I mean, you know, not to miss any Success Club points or commission, but have you thought about doing maybe an extended challenge group until then?
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Like what the challenge group, as far as like the physically working out challenge group?
Or I mean, any of the above. I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be. I mean, you know, Jason, you're going to be your coach, so I mean, obviously you jump in, but I mean, you know, I have coaches who just do clean eating boot camps. I have coaches that do the typical Beachbody program plus Shakeology. I have some that do just a Beachbody program, no Shakeology. I mean, you could do whatever you want, but basically staying active with actually the business building fundamentals while you're waiting. You know, you don't necessarily have to, you know, sign coaches up, maybe because that's a good transition period for right when you become a coach again. Maybe you're finishing up the challenge group and you do have some you know, high rolling players there that would make a great coach.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was asking, as far as like what I could be doing in between. Sorry, I talk with my hands. You'll see I'm waving around. But yeah, that was one of the things I was trying to figure out, is what I could do in between. Like, I'd wanted to do some of the different challenge groups, but all the challenge groups that I was familiar with were things, you know, physically working out challenge groups. And I really wanted to start one with our church, just because I really wanted to, because there's lots of women there that we speak with that would like to do that. But then all this stuff happened, and I've not been able to do the physical part of it since July. So I kind of held off on that.
Well, just because you can't do it doesn't mean that, you know, you can lead any type of group. And remember, you're the coach. So yeah, when I lead a group fitness class, I'm not always doing the exercises with them. I'm coaching them. So, your effectiveness as a coach. And I think that, Donnie actually, and I don't know why I don't think, I mean, free value is going to be your way. And I think that's such a blessing because you don't have the option to do it another way. You have to give them free value, and that's how you're going to develop trust. So, I would think of, if you're going to do something with church or whatever, think of something that you like to do. Whether it's, it could be clean eating protocol. I mean, clean eating you can always add in to a fitness challenge, something like whether it's a step challenge, whether it's a squat challenge, whatever it is, it's about camaraderie with women and whatever they're struggling with, and have them do a little intro video about why they want to do this challenge. And then along the way, have little things where they post the rest. If you ever see Brooks challenge groups are amazing.
I'm in several of them.
Right. And so that's, the reason why they're so successful is because she forces engagement. She's got people posting motivational posts one day, post your sweaty workout pic, post everybody's posting food every day. And that's all it's about. It's never about, oh, we're all doing PIO. I've only done one test group where I've just had one program. I mean, I think it's about the community. So I think that you have, we can talk at what's a great thing for you to do for 30 days, or even just, you could do a 7-day challenge and start with that.
Yeah. Because when you're doing more than one challenge group, and you'll get there when you're doing, I've done I think the most I've done at one time was 3. And you're definitely not working out 3 times a day. I mean, if at all, I mean, because it depends on what type of challenge group it is. If you got 21-day fixed and T25 and the new P90, you're not doing all 3 programs. So you're there, like you said, just to lead, to encourage, and to help them move forward. So.
Hey, Jason, you've got to help me get one of those set up.
You got it.
Try being a coach.
Those actually really work. I was asked by one of the guys that was in our superstar training. Kind of, I guess you could say we're kind of success partners. we communicate quite a bit and kind of back each other up. But he was having a really hard time with setting up challenge groups and stuff like that. And he actually reached out to me about maybe, I have to say 3 weeks ago. I guess his approach wasn't good. He knew my background and stuff like that. And then, when you see all this stuff on TNL and all these things about, and actually posts from other coaches on your newsfeed about these free challenges and whatnot. And I said, well, why don't you we create something like a so-called program. That'd be a good way to build relationships with them. And now we actually, we're doing a core challenge right now, planks, lifts, and twists and that sort of thing. And it's kind of interesting because he said he never had that much traffic. So that's good. I mean, that's kind of good because they want more. So and it's kind of nice listening to them because they, since I'm helping them with the post or whatever, they get on and they're like, I'm feeling the burn. You get all this feedback, and then they're saying, are you guys going to do more? Well, that's a good thing because that means you've engaged them. They're trusting you. You created this program. It's working for them. Other things could work for them, but we have to work our way up there. And so it's kind of nice. Right now, I think they're on their day 8 today, and they got 2 more days, and then we're going to start another challenge. But it's nice when they say, oh, you're going to do more. So that's nice that they're trusting us, and we're building our relationship in a different way, but we're building it nonetheless, So that's a wonderful idea, and I do recommend that, and I say a lot. We're actually going to be doing, after this challenge, we're going to be doing a push-up and push-up and lunge challenge next. So I actually kind of designed the program so that there's not only one general type of push-up. We have the diamond push-up and the diver bomber. I'm trying to mix it up a little bit with set times, or reps or whatever. And every day is going to be a different rep. I mean, we have to start low and then kind of build it up and whatnot. So, but I like when they say that they like that every day we add more to it, because that's what the challenge is all about. Is you can't keep everything 10 reps a day. You got to build up that, So it's nice when it comes out of them to say, oh, I want more of a challenge. So you bring it up, you kind of design your program like that. But I feel that there's a lot more traffic in there. Yeah, we throw other things in there, like, we're actually kind of working our nutrition angle in there too. We're kind of talking about different things that are good for you or whatever. Ultimately, we'll get to the Shakeology or whatever, but we don't want it to appear like we're selling them something, if that makes sense. So we talk about all this clean eating stuff, which actually that's the thing we're going to be doing also. If we talk about all these good things, then we're going to work our way up to what has been working for us. Because then they've already are believing us. They're looking at our credibility, and they're going to say, "Hey, if they're doing this and that's what they're working on, it might work for me." So I think they're working out really well. I was actually very impressed because he said since he started, he has had no traffic in that group, and so what we've been doing is, like I said, I've been co-coaching, and he's added his people, I've added my people. The more the merrier. That way everybody's supporting each other. And that's another thing is some of them will just jump in and talk to each other. I'm like, yeah, that's great, because they're not only getting our support, but they're getting support from those in the group. And
look
that's
for
nice.
look for those that are jumping in. That's a key right there. Try to find those that are jumping in and I'll start private conversations with them, encouraging them, thanking them. And actually, a lot of times I will take the initiative to pull those people aside in a private message and say, hey, I really appreciate you stepping in on the challenge group and motivating everyone. And then I put them in charge of maybe, posting the next challenge for the day or being kind of like my right-hand man when it comes to watching to see, if people are kind of dropping off, and kind of send them a private message and be that person that sends the ones that are kind of falling off a private message to say, hey, I missed you today in the challenge group, and just kind of give them that little tutorial beforehand about being a coach and kind of give them that little taste before they even become a coach. And then at the end of the challenge group, basically that's what they've been doing. In a nutshell.
So when you do these challenges, do you generally try to top it off at a certain number just so that you can keep track of everyone? Or is it okay to kind of limit it when you're doing these at first?
If we do it together, we can, we wouldn't have to, it's up to you, but if it's a free challenge, we'd be able to handle whatever number.
Yeah. Jason talks about being yourself. And I see a lot of coaches who will say, I'm starting just to piggyback off what Jesse's talking about, a new squat challenge, but I'm only accepting 5 people. And that's not real. If it's a coach, right, you're telling me you're going to turn down the 6th person and say, no, I'm sorry, you're not coming in. It's just not realistic, and I don't think that's being truthful. So, if I had a challenge group with 30 or 40 people in it, I would consider that amazing, And so I'm not going to put a cap on it. That's me personally. Jason may have a different opinion on that, but I understand structure. You got to have structure. But, when it comes to the maximum number of people, again, in my opinion, the more the merrier. Because I think the more that you have in there, and I think when we first started doing challenge groups, the key number was 10 people. But you would know it's a numbers game. Of those 10 people, you may have 3, you may have 4 that are participating. And if you only have a challenge group with 3 or 4 participating, that's not a challenge group. You're struggling to get interaction there. So, if you can bump it up to 15 and you've got a good mix, 5 to 8 people that are really, jawing it up on a daily basis, that's when you really are seeing some phenomenal results.
And what I found also, I'm gonna jump in real quick, is it's funny because 3 in that group actually involved their husbands, and one of them involved their daughter. So they're like, oh, my daughter also did the challenge. So I think when they see that they're doing it, they're like, oh, I want to do what they're doing. And so they're also recommending them to that group too. So I think it speaks volumes when those that are jumping out and giving all this feedback are saying, oh, my husband's doing it with me. So that's also good too, because that you bring them into the challenge,
And Jason talks about a tribe. One of the leaders that I follow is Mindy Winder, and I'm telling you, she has, when she does challenge groups, her challenge groups are a lot of the same people who follow her to the next challenge group. You know, I mean, they go from program to program because they're so, gelled together. They're so, the camaraderie in that group is so great, and the support that, they want to continue that even after that, the challenge group is over for that particular program, or, whichever focus they are on that challenge group, that it carries over to the next. So I think that's amazing when she talks about that, because I haven't seen that personally, and maybe it's a maybe it's a male female thing, I don't know, but you guys go to the bathroom together, so I don't know.
Hey, I am only one. Quit judging. I'm the only female at this meeting. Come on.
I love it. Hey, I have to get going. I don't mean to cut this short, but
Okay, well, we can finish up.
I'm getting summoned.
Yeah, it's 11
Well,
o'clock here in Atlanta.
We can go ahead and wrap it up. I think I'm going to go on ahead and just I want to thank both of you for giving such wealth of information. It was such an honor. It's like when you guys agreed to be on this meeting, I was telling our team they're going to be on. And then I kind of gave an overview because I have been following you guys for a while, and you're just so inspiring to me. So really
thank you very
appreciate
much, man. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, you're an inspiration to me, Jesse.
Thank you so much,
brother. There you go.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, guys.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.